Guru Brahma, Gurur Vishnur, Gurudevo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Hare Rameti Krishneti Nama Sankirtanam Sada Lokakshemaya Kurvantam Premikam Sadgurum Bhaje. Kalage Sundarakaram Sadaika Priyadarshanam Ajnana Nashakam Devam Sadgurum Muralidharam Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nandagopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Namaste. And I'm very happy, delighted to be inside our wonderful Indian High Commission in Wellington to talk about the spirit of our country, India, that is Bharat, which is about unity of oneness and diversity. And as a child, we all have repeated the shloka, for the ones who follow Sanatana Dharma, which actually espouses this wonderful universal theme of unity and diversity. Akashat patitam toyam yatha gacchati sagaram sarvadeva namaskaraha keshavam pratigacchati. And of course, the pride of India, our beloved divine poet Rabindranath Tagore has very beautifully summarized the spirit of India in one of his poems in Gitanjali, which of course got global recognition, which it should, and it did. He says, when one knows thee, then alien there is none. No doors are shut. Grant me my prayer that I may never lose the bliss of the touch of one in the play of many. You see, that summarizes Sanatana Dharma so beautifully, poetically in English. And he says, when we actually look at the touch of one in the play of many, then obviously it becomes blissful, because bliss comes from connection. And the connection is the unity among the apparent play of diversity, philosophically, and as per Sanatana Dharma also. And generally, as Swami Vivekananda beautifully observed, the goal of any study is gravitating towards unity. Whether it is science or fundamental, say, chemistry or biology or physics, when we find that one force which explains all forces of the universe, then the fundamental study of physics is done, you see. Because the fundamental study of physics is gravitating towards understanding the touch of one in this apparent play of many. And right now they have come to four fundamental forces in the universe. The strong forces, the weak forces, so gravitational force, so on and so forth. And if we can find one particle which actually explains all the wonderful elements of this whole universe, the fundamental study of chemistry is over. And chemistry is also going towards, the fundamental study is going towards understanding that one which can explain the all. And if we can understand and discover one life force which explains all life forms, you see, the fundamental study of life sciences of biology is done. So everybody, whether they call themselves religious or not, if they are well-meaning in their research towards the truth, it all leads to unity only. And that is what is espoused in our wonderful Samskriti, or the culture of Bharat, where, imagine, we believe traditionally the Vedas are timeless, okay? We think it's universal intelligence in play. Just like how we say gravitational force is timeless, and Sir Isaac Newton happened to discover it 350 years back, maybe in a backyard in a college in Oxford. But it doesn't mean that gravitational force came into being after he saw an apple fall. Likewise, we think the universal truth which is timeless, which is as timeless as the creation itself or even beyond, was discovered by these wonderful rishis, which we call seers, and gave us something universal. And the most fundamental assertion of our seers are ekam sat vipra bahuda vadanti, which means that which exists is one. And people see it as many and describe it as many, you see. And that is our fundamental spiritual value which we hold it. What we do, what we think is all basically a derivation of what we are, isn't it? And what we are is our very being. And I believe that the theme of our Bharat is obviously spirituality, a term which is newly fangled. I would say Sanatana Dharma, you see. That it is the fundamental thing which drives our thoughts, our beliefs, our perceptions, and of course our behaviors also. And that is decided by a wonderful Vedic verse which says that which exists is one, and people call it by different names. The whole idea of trying to find the connectivity with the rest is to find the touch of one, you see, in the play of many. And since it is driven by that, it is our core worldview, you see. That which exists is one, we are all connected, there is no other. You know, one of our dharmic speakers once went to a foreign land. Funny that I am saying it here. And a person asked, look here, he was new to Hinduism. It was a valid question. He asked that speaker, tell me, sir, in our religion there is one God. In your religion, you have one God or 33 million gods or all that, you see. What we generally read in popular literature used to. Now I'm sure that people are making corrections. The speaker very beautifully said, in your religion you say there is one God. In our religion called Sanatana Dharma, there is only God. That which exists is one. And that is, so if I say, what is your worldview? That is very limiting to me. Because for me, world is only 1/3 of my view. As per any philosophical, branch, wherever, whichever religion, they need to explain three things. One is they have to explain world and creation. And they have to explain me as a person, and they have to explain God as a universal consciousness. So there are three principles at play. And I believe this is the universal trinity of philosophy, you see. And so when I say worldview, I am only restricting to 1/3. As per our Sanatana Dharma, that which exists is only one. And that one explains the world, that one explains you, that one explains that which is universal consciousness or Brahman or Bhagavan or Paramatma. And so that is how we fundamentally believe in the oneness. It is not a foisted, thought. It is not a forced thought. It is what we are, fundamentally. And it is very beautifully explained in a wonderful Purana called Srimad Bhagavata Purana. It's a very revolutionary Purana. It says that which exists is only one. Vadanti tat tattva vidaha tattvam yajnanam advayam. Advayam, that which is one. There is only oneness which exists. And Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavan iti shabdyate. That one truth is called as Brahman by people who are more aligned towards the path of Jnana Marga, where they do self-inquiry, Atma Vichara or Brahma Vichara with Upanishads. And they call the truth, the Tattva, as Brahman. And people who go the path of yoga, where they do the Abhyasa Yoga, they do the practice of Ashtanga Yoga, and they try to actually discover that consciousness within, and they call the same truth as Paramatma. And devotees who look and adore the wonderful divinity in so many names and forms depending on their taste, they call it Bhagavan, but that which exists is only one. That was a clarion call given by our Puranas, which is at least 5,000 years old as per our tradition, you see. And that is what we truly believe in. So if we say that, what is your worldview? I thought it was very limiting. World is only 1/3 of what we view. And how do we explain the world is very beautiful. This is the core philosophy. People differ in small details and call it three different philosophies. Advaita, Vishtadvaita, Dvaita. All the three can be harmonized if you understand the relation between these three. Bhagavan Sri Krishna himself says that, it is depending on how you count. If I just count number of people sitting and number of people standing, I will say there are two categories. 100 people sitting, one standing. So two categories. How many are in the room? There is only one category. All of us are in the room, you see. And how many are wearing Indian clothes versus, Western clothes? I can again split the category. So the category splitting is not really important. But what we really believe in is, as the famous, tune in Bombay goes, Fir bhi dil hai Hindustani only matters finally. So that is the reason why he beautifully says, look here, there are three categories. Why I am starting with this is I am going to go down to even basic psychology to have a happier life using this. And since it was requested, we will do a small mantra meditation in the end also. But before that, we have to understand where this unity and diversity is coming from, isn't it? It is not only from discovery of India, it is from the discovery of my own self that this thought is coming in. So here, how our philosophies explain that oneness is very simple. It says that which exists is consciousness, you see. And depending on how you see it, I am a portion of it. Which means, for example, can I split my hand away from the body? Can I say hand is separate and the body is separate? Hand becomes a part and parcel of the body, isn't it? Likewise, they say all these individual living beings, starting from a blade of grass, maybe even bacteria, to the highest creation which we generally see from Puranas, which is Brahma, is part of a whole. You see, that's one way of seeing. And what is the relationship between me and Bhagavan? And Bhagavan very beautifully says, you are my Amsa. It is the relationship between a child and the father. You see, it is a relationship between me as an Indian and India. You see, I am a part of it. And if I become really very emotional, I am India, isn't it, inside? And what is this world? The world is a manifestation of this inexplicable power of consciousness, which is, made into something concrete as this world. So the world is merely the power's manifestation of a powerful consciousness. And we as individual souls and Bhagavan are related as Amsa and Amsi, or we are part and is the whole. So when you see our ancient seers thought, even though we have three categories, it all can be made one, because you can't separate the power from the powerful. Can you? In Sanskritam, it is called Shakti, Shaktiman, Abhedam, which means if I say I want a music concert out here, and a musician come outside, he said, you can't come inside, only your music should come inside. Is it possible? Can I bring in the talent, or can I bring in the actual music? Can I separate it from the musician? Music always resides in a musician. So if we say I'm going to encourage music, nourish Indian music, it typically means I am encouraging and nourishing musicians. And that's how Bhagavan also takes a stand. If I have to protect Dharma, whom do I protect? Dharma cannot be protected without protecting Dharmatmas. Na? People who follow Dharma needs to be protected for Dharma to be protected. So we can never separate the property and a substance. I can't separate color from lotus, for example. You see? And the lotus has that color. It is inseparable. So they said, look here, the power of that consciousness and that consciousness which we call Bhagavan are inseparable. Which is the reason why in a practical plane we always do what is called as Yugal Upasana. It is always Shiva Shakti Upasana, Radha Krishna Upasana, Sita Rama Upasana, Valli Devanasena and Kartikeya Swami Upasana. Even a Brahmachari deity like our Ganpati, if you go to Bombay, they create two wonderful wives for him. You see, in the south he is a Brahmachari, which means he didn't marry. But in north they said Riddhi Siddhi Sameta Siddhi Vinayaka Swami. Why? Because the power and the powered cannot be separated. And how we practicalize it? By the Yugala Upasana. So when we say Shri, and the first word for Shri is Prakriti Namaha. Prakriti means nature. Nature is Dharma. So Dharma and the Dharmatma cannot be separated. And so we see the entire world is Bhagavan. How it is Bhagavan? It is merely a manifestation of his power. Like a music and a musician. Is music and musician different? No, because music cannot exist without the musician, but actually the musician is distinct also and also one. You see, binary doesn't work in India. Never it worked. The only person who wanted binary was called an Asura. He said, I should not be killed inside, I should not be killed outside, I should not be killed above. All binary logic. It didn't work. Only thing where binary logic works is IT, you see. But if you want another IT, which is inner transformation, we have to transcend the binary logic, you see. And India stands for both the ITs. It is not only, creating a beautiful ripple all over the world in the information technology side of it. It also, as many of our leaders very beautifully said, Vishwa Guru for inner transformation also. And it is known very well. Most of the great thinkers all over the world says one of the most original ideas came from the banks of Ganga, says Voltaire. You see, that's the beauty of our inner transformation ideas. And that idea is rooted in this wonderful topic given to me, which is oneness or unity in diversity. And so, what is the biggest diversity we can ever think of? God, and let me use human, and the world. Even these three, there is a touch of one. World is nothing but manifestation of God's power. We are part of God or Amsa of God, and so we are all one unit. You see, that's how fundamental our ideas goes. So making it practical in a social plane becomes very easy, because fundamentally I believe in that oneness. And to practicalize it becomes easy. There is no conflict there at all. There may be a little bit of selfish interest and a little bit of operational practicality and all that, but fundamentally we are perfect in this whole idea, which is what the whole world is gravitating towards. All right. So we saw in Bhagavatam that that which exists is only one, and it uses the word tattva. You see, a lady who came from United Kingdom to our ashram, and she said, of all the things which is Sanatana Dharma, that which appealed to me the most is Tattva Vichar. You see, where we inquire with our tremendous energy and vitality for millennia to unravel the fundamental unity of truth in this world. Each of them approached it differently, you see. And she said, that fascinated me the most, that you have so much of Tattva Vichar. Tattva Vichar means inquiry for the truth. In fact, when I just entered and you put it in Sanskritam, Bharat Sarkar, isn't it? The word Bharat, every word in Sanskritam and most of the Indian languages have roots, etymology, and we can actually build it. We can even, for Sanskritam, we can write a code to even, any word can be easily deciphered with the code, with Panini's around 4,000 sutras. And the word Bharatam is a lovely word, which we identify yourself. India is also a lovely word. And I believe our constitution, I think Article 1 starts by saying, India, that is Bharat. You see, there are two types of characteristics in our language. And one is called a direct characteristic called Swarup Lakshan. You see, which means I clearly separate you from the rest by something which is always in you. And then there is something called circumstantial, which is called Tatastha Lakshan. You see. And Tatastha means, for example, one wearing a yellow shirt is sitting in the crowd. So the yellow shirt, tomorrow he may wear a red shirt, so it won't work tomorrow, but it will work today. You see. But Swarupa Lakshan, I can very clearly say, he is tall, maybe fingerprint is Swarupa Lakshan. That will never change, hopefully. You see. And so, if you take the naming of our country, how beautiful it is. You see, the word Tatastha means that which is in the banks. Tatam, we say, Yamuna, Tat, etc. So, what is the real characteristic of Bharat? What is the real Swarup of Bharat? Is there in the name itself. The Swarup or the innate identity of Bharat is Bharupe Brahmani Rataha Bharataha, which means Bha. Bha means effulgence. Effulgence, light, which is, divine. The word Div also comes from light. And Deva comes from Div. And I don't know what Westerners are going to say. Divine comes from Div only, obviously. It has to come there, because anything which is related to spirituality had to come from India. I was doing a small lecture in Houston, okay? I was trying to teach them meditation to all the health experts. Then I said, what? Zen came from India. One Argentinian stood up and said, this is the problem with you people. You will say everything comes from India. I said, look here, that may be true. I would like to think everything comes from India, but this is a fact. And said, show me. And thankfully, there are some things which I don't believe in the net, but this was accurately depicted. We have the word of meditation called Dhyan. It went a little eastward to a nearby neighbor, and it became Chan. And the Dhyan became Chan. When it went to a little more eastward to Japan, it became Zen. You see, and it's well proved. And thankfully, most of my Japanese friends also agree to that. You see, and that's how it goes. Now, Div means light, illumination, and generally we equate God and light, isn't it? And we say, take me from darkness to light. Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya. And light and God are inseparable. Generally we say light and God. And the beauty with our Indian thinking is, we understand an and in light and God. I'll tell you why. Because generally when you say unity in diversity, it is about inclusiveness, isn't it? That's what unity in diversity means. I want to include you as a common platform. I want to embrace you as one. Generally, in the last century, there was a problem. The last century scientific problem was, some people said light is a particle. Some people said light is a wave. And wave means it's like a wave and it reflects in a mirror and shows back the image. It's a wave. If you keep a photoelectric cell, it creates energy. So a wave can't create energy. It has to be a particle. So Albert Einstein came in, and here Einstein gave a revolutionary concept saying, why can't light be both? And he brought in a new term to science called and, you see, which means light is both a particle and a wave. depending on whether you keep a mirror or a photoelectric effort, light seems to know whether to act like a particle or a wave. I'm just making it a little more poetic, okay? But this is exactly what our rishis said about God also. Generally, if you look at the religions all over the world, the major bone of contention is, does God have a name and a form, or is God transcending name, form, qualities? And in Sanskrit, we call it Nirgun and Sagun, you see. Is Bhagavan Nirgun or Sagun? And our rishis, 5,000 years back, started with Vyasa Bhagavan. And of course, our Bhagavan Sri Krishna said, why are you stuck in an or? It's an and. If you look upon him as somebody beyond name and form, that's what he is. If you approach him as somebody with a name, form, compassion, lovely qualities, that's what he is. And the comparison between light and God is almost complete now with the and. And that and is what India stands for, you see. There was this, somewhere in Europe, a bit of a battle between science or spirituality. You know, in Bharat, we never had this problem. It was always science and spirituality. We used to use the word Acharya in the same breath for people who are mathematicians like Bhaskaracharya, to people who founded matas like Advaita Mata, Vasishta Advaita Mata, Dvaita Mata. We call them Adi Shankaracharya, Bhagavat Ramanujacharya, and Madhvacharya, and Bhaskaracharya. Why? We had no problem. In Bharat, we had no problem, no wrangling between science and spirituality because it was an and. It appears as if science and spirituality are diverse, but we saw the unity there. We said both are Vidya. Vid means knowledge. And both are knowledge. One is an outward knowledge, other one is an inward knowledge. Why is there should be an or? Why can't it complement each other? One of the Upanishads says that Vidya is of two types, Paravidya and Aparavidya. Paravidya is the inward Vidya. Aparavidya is an outward Vidya. We need both. Do I need to? Of course I need to have good technology. Annam bahukurvita, tatvratam says Vedamata. So to increase my agriculture, I need a green revolution. Vedamata says do that. And complement it with an inward journey called Paravidya. We had no problem. We had no persecution of scientists or persecution of spiritualities. It was never the spirit of Bharat at all. They understood you have a limit, I have a limit. You go beyond this, I am here. I don't want even an intersection of these two, even though there are millions of scientific facts which are very beautifully, buried in Vedas. I'll give you an example. The most famous example, most of you should have known this, being a Bharatiya, is the speed of light. You see, 1,000 years back, one Rigveda mantra which talks about sunlight was commented upon by a great Mahatma called Shayanacharya, and he has said that speed of light which we know is 2,202 yojanas in half an nimesha. That's it, casually. Not even earth-shattering discovery, nothing. As we know, smarakam. Smarakam means as we know, as we remember. This is what is the speed of light. 1,000 years back. And people were wrangling if the speed of light is finite or infinite 400, 500 years back. Simple. Purana has it, speed of light, which comes very close to 3 into 10 power 8 meter per second. So that's how beautiful science is there in Vedas. Nobody can deny it. But that's not the purpose of Vedas. You see, science, you and I, if we do a little bit of vichara, we will get it. But the inward journey has to be given by somebody who has been there and showed, because it is adrishtam. Adrishtam means that is not easy for us to figure out. There has to be exceptional people who figured out how to take the inward journey, and they say, look here, there is a journey possible inward. We are so used to doing outward journey, but you can turn your eye inward. This is how you do it. That can be done by only people who have seen that we have not seen. People who have gone beyond the apparent, you see. And that is what becomes our Adhyatma Vidya. And it is not in contra to normal Adi Bhautika Vidya or Adi Devika Vidya. Cosmology or science is not in any way contra to our wonderful theme of spirituality. And we found Vidya is the oneness in the apparent diversity of social sciences and religion. We didn't have any dichotomy at all. We understood both complement each other, you see. And that is the reason why we truly believe in and. If you look at any scripture of Sanatana Dharma, it's always an end. Many people say, do I work or do I withdraw from work? काम करूं कि विद्रा करूं? He says, and do karma yoga, do the work, but don't get attached to the results. You are as good as a sannyasi. You see, and there. Should I work or should I pursue spirituality? Arey, make your work worship. If you do it as an offering to divine, if you do it as lokakshemartha, which means if I am doing it as something which adds to the value to the world, it already becomes divine. Why are you dividing these two? And then there was another question, do I do the chanting or do I do work? And then came Ramayana, our Hanumanji. He said, why are you putting an R there? Let the lips chant and the hands work. You see, and, which is the oneness. Where in apparent so-called diverse dichotomy, there is a wonderful bridge between these two. And I can keep on going like that. One of the fundamental, arguments we have, which is eternal, is self-effort versus destiny. Right? Is everything destined or is there a role of effort there? It's going to be an endless struggle. But unless you go and read Mahabharata, very beautifully said, why are you bringing an or here? You see, it's an and. It's self-effort and destiny. Which means there are a lot of things which I can control. When you are doing a job, this is Bhishmacharya telling all his young wards. He said, when you need to do something, believe in self-effort alone. Don't waste your mind thinking about destiny. When you have decided that's my goal and I'm going to put my effort, forget destiny. Only self-effort. But once a result has come, then embrace destiny and learn something from it. You see how practically they made it. It's revolutionary, isn't it? It's not absolutes. It's both. So there is a confluence of my efforts and something beyond me which I call destiny. That destiny is beautifully given. The wordings and the naming of Indians are honest to the core. You know what destiny is called in actual pure Vedantic language? Adrishtam. Do you know what Adrishtam really means? In southern parts of India, Adrishtam has become a positive entity. You see, why did he get so much of lottery money? Adrishtam, as if some devata is there blessing him. The meaning of Adrishtam is seeing and knowing. Adrishtam is I don't see, I don't know. So when you say, why is he getting better than me? Adrishtam, meaning I don't know. That's what it means. I don't know. How honest it is, you see. And Adrishtam, when you ask for a theory, we'll give you a theory. If you don't want a theory, I don't give you a theory. And why is it that he is getting more than me? Adrishtam. What is this Adrishtam? Acha, everything happens for as per cause and effect. If there is an effect here, there had to be a cause. You didn't see the cause. But if positive results come, there is a positive cause. Negative result came, it's a negative cause. Let's call positive call as punya, negative call as papa. We have no idea. We are not seeing it. We can only hear it. You see. So they are very honest. When they don't know, they say Adrishtam. I don't know. You see. If we make it a positive identity, our problem, not theirs, you see. And that's why self-effort and destiny. For example, the example given by our Bhishmacharya is, when you sow a seed, before sowing the seed, we have to plow the land. That is self-effort. Without plowing the land, even if you throw a seed, it won't come. And if you sow the seed, there is no guarantee. It's not in our power to pull a crop from a seed. Then the nature takes over, which is destiny. And those days they had to still, the climates were pretty, the climate cycles was pretty predictable. So they wait for the rains. Rains are not in my hand, destiny. And when the water comes down, the whole beautiful crop comes out, destiny. And when the seeds or whatever the grains come in the crops, I harvest it, self-effort. And then I cook it, self-effort. I eat it, self-effort. Digestion, destiny. Every time I take a handful of rice, I want it to be digested. No, it's not in my hand. There is the nature of our own digestive system, whatever, Prakriti, which takes care. So beautifully, Bhishmacharya says it's an interplay of self-effort and destiny. Why are you making an or out there? It may be a good debating topic, but it's not practical. And then came all the wonderful jnanis. They said, look here, even your self-effort is a subset of destiny. And current research seems to completely augur with that. I was mind blown out of the research paper I saw, where I read it in one of those wonderful magazines of the West. In that they have said, people have actually found out that the body prepares for an action even before we thought we decided it. You get what I'm saying? For example, I decide to go and drink coffee. And 1 microsecond before I decide, cognitively that I'm going to drink coffee, body is ready for coffee already. So they say, look here, this so-called, our own free will, etc. is a very shaky ground. Whether it is there or not is not important, but you better believe in it, because otherwise there will be chaos in the society. Where have they come? No absolutes here, you see. I will send you that article. I have verified it in 2-3 other sources, where neuroscience have said, free will, take it with a pinch of salt. And our Shastras say, look here, don't worry about all that. Theory doesn't matter for you. You think there is free will, then give it your full effort. And don't worry about destiny on that once you decide. After you get a result, understand, in spite of your results, there is something beyond you which decides. So accept it using destiny. If you don't accept, we don't take a foot forward. What are the acceptance mechanisms our rishis has given us? 2-3, you see. And depending on which mechanism we take, our sampradaya changes. A person who is very work-oriented would always want to use karma to accept. They'll say, kya hai, paap hai, punya hai, somehow get on with it. Because then if you are stuck in something, very difficult. But for a devotee, that person doesn't care about karma. He says everything happens as per grace of God. Krishna Kripa, that's it. And I will accept it as it is. And so they gave a very nice acceptance mechanisms depending on our own psyche to say that, look here, it is an interplay of our efforts and destiny. It's an and there, you see. And I'll tell you one more and. I already told you science and spirituality. Just to add a little more thing about it, our Puranas talk about the scales of time 5,000 years back, when rest of the world 150 years back thought the world itself was only 5,000 years old. You see, that's the beauty of our depth. And generally when a Panditji comes and does some karma for us, we tell Manvantra, isn't it? We say we are in the 7th Manvantra. It's called Vaivasvata Manvantra, all that. Listen to that. It has so much of science and time in it. And in that, what is the 7th Manvantra mean? What does Manvantra mean? We did a little digging. I got it by an accident. Again, it was a Bhagavat Saptak done at some other place, and some NASA scientists came and attended the Saptak because they were interested in our Sanatana Dharma. In that, in the 8th canto of Bhagavatam, this time scales comes very beautifully. In that I was saying that, look here, Manvantra is a cycle where the earth goes around the sun, it is 1 year. The entire solar system goes around the galaxy, you see, and makes a full round. And that is called Manvantra. And we are in the 7th round for the entire solar system to go around the galaxy. So we are in the 7th Manvantra. How many are there? 14. We are in the 50%, you see. And our Shastras say sun's life is around 50%, which means another 14 billion years or whatever scientists say is left. And it is 14 billion years old. And 7 out of 14 Manvantras. Our maths for that is 30.8 crores or 308 million years. And NASA's initial estimate was 240 million. They corrected to 280 million. And in a lighter vein, I was just joking with a friend saying, I'm waiting for you to come to 308 because we didn't change it for 5,000 years. You changed it within 20 years, you see. Just as a jest, of course, I have tremendous respect for scientific community there. That's the beauty. And, you see, no problem between science and spirituality. It's and. And that is why I cringe when people call it spirituality and, as if it is separate from... we didn't have such a difference at all. It was all vidya for us. You see, everything was knowledge. Knowledge about the world, knowledge about the mind, which is Sankhya philosophy, and knowledge about the consciousness. And to this day, for 5,000 years, all the Bharatiyas have been screaming from the rooftop, consciousness is not a function of mind. It is something which is even a platform for the mind to play. It is like a field. And thankfully, for the past 20 years, all the good minds in the world are now considering that maybe consciousness is something to do beyond mind. And I said, thankfully, right, you are in the right track, because we have been screaming that for 5,000 years. Even a child in a village would know, who had read a little Vedas would know, that consciousness, Atma Swarupa, is different from mind, is something we all know. And our Vedas gives a very beautiful, hint for us to grasp it intuitively. We can't, of course, intellectually grasp it, because intellectual, once it comes in, then we lose consciousness, right? When I say lose, I mean the cognizant of it. They say when you are in deep sleep, no mind works, at least you don't have thoughts. Consciously, at least we don't have thoughts. And when you wake up, what do you say? I don't know, 10 o'clock, something switched off. I have no idea what happened. What is the time now? 5. Pata nahi kya hua tha. We say, I slept well. It was very resting, you see. And our Upanishads say, look here, that should give you a hint that even when the mind was silent and dark, you still knew that you were in a state of sleep. And so, don't believe in cognito ergo sum. It is not because you exist because you think, because thoughts are merely a play of a power of consciousness. And thoughts are not the consciousness. That's what we have been actually talking about for the past so many millennia. And I'm very happy that we are living the best of times, that people are taking notice and taking it seriously, and including that. First time in a scientific university, I see Oriental philosophies. Oriental philosophies are all going to be considered for us to understand consciousness studies. Fantastic. That's a good place to go. And then we have this apparently misunderstanding, devotion versus wisdom, bhakti and jnana. And Bhagavan Sri Krishna constantly says that bhakti and jnana are two sides of the same coin. There is no difference at all between them, and jnani is a bhakta, bhakta is a jnani. There is no difference at all there. So instead of calling somebody mystics, somebody called sages, somebody called saints, all labels we don't have. You see, somebody is realized, he is all the three. You see, a jnani is fundamentally a mystic. He may not show it out. And the beauty of this, these two is shown in two avatars I'm going to talk about. In Rama Avatara, for example, our Ramachandra Prabhu, Maryada Purushottam, he manifested dharma outside and kept prema inside. He didn't show it out. In the next avatara, Krishna Avatara, Bhagavan Sri Krishna showed prema outside, buried dharma inside. So dharma was the background and the prema was the foreground. And in Ramachandra Prabhu, prema was the background, dharma was the foreground. Until we are truly devoted to Ramayana, we cannot understand Ramachandra Prabhu's prema. Until we are truly rooted in Bhagavatam, we cannot understand the secret of Krishna's dharma, you see. And that's how these two complement each other. And then came a wonderful set of avatars, whom we believe as avatars, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa and Swami Vivekananda. Of course, we revere them as avatars. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa had jnana buried deep inside. He didn't show it much. Prema and bhakti and bhava was shown outside. Our Swami Vivekananda had bhakti buried deep inside. He was roaring like a lion of Vedanta outside. But if you read the 8th volume, which was released by the ashram, and the epistles, the letters he has written, he, like a child crying at the feet of the mother, is pouring his heart out to Mother Kali, you see, saying that, how long are you going to keep me like this? When will I come and, get back to your lap? That's the prema he had, which he managed to bury it for some time, and in the end he showed it also out. So there is no or, bhakti or jnana nahi hai, bhakti and jnana, you see. And same with tattva and leela, you see. That's incredible, na? Any story from our scriptures has rasa, aesthetics in it. And in the actual background of aesthetics, there is also a principle in it. Doesn't mean, is it a principle or a rasa? Please don't go by all those standards, which I really feel very unfortunate. People say Ramayana Tattva is perfect. Did it really happen? Yes, it happened. But how can Tattva be perfect? That's the beauty of hand, na? What to do? दोनों तो पक्का है. Somebody gives us Ayurvedic Chyawanprash है. Tasty है और medicine भी है. Allopathic patients will never understand it. You see, क्या करो? Hand है. Tasty भी है, रसा भी है, और रसायन भी है. You see, like that, Krishna Leela, Rama Leela, history. And it also has wonderful tattva underneath it. It's an end. And all the life stories of great Mahatmas, if you see, they also underlie a tattva. There will be Leela also. Leela means play. Outwardly, for a rasika, for a person who wants to enjoy, aesthetics, he would love the Leela. But when we take Chyawanprash for the taste, will we not be cured of health also? Likewise, even if you just listen to Krishna Leela, Ram Leela, Narsim Leela, Shiv Leela, there is a tattva underneath which will do the curing for you. That is the reason why that which is a deficit in the whole world called listening is how our religion starts. Whether it is Vedanta or Bhakti, the first step is always listening. Shravanam, if you are a Vedanti, the first step is listen to what scripture says, what a guru is realized says. And then you do vichara, mananam. and then apply it in day-to-day life. Nididhyasitavyaha, atmavare, drashtavyaha, shrotavyaha, mantavyaha, nididhyasitavyaha. First step, listen. That is the deficit. Na? We don't teach that in schools. Na? There are clubs for public speaking. There is no club for private listening. You see, we are not listening at all. Whole problem. That's the deficit everywhere. Na? And in Bhakti, a great Bhagavata called Prahalada says, first step in Bhakti is Shravanam. And then what you heard, you repeat, called Kirtan. Kirtan does not mean music. Technically, Kirtan means the movement of tongues and lips in such a way that a word comes out is called Kirtan. That's all it is. If you know to sing, it's called Sankirtan. You see? And Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam. This is Bhakti. So first step in all our spiritual stuff is Shravanam. I suspect the reason why we didn't have too much books on Vedas for Veda Padashala is to develop that listening skill of a child, because he is going to be a guru tomorrow. And a person who can't listen cannot be a guru. So they forced, if you can use the term, the child to listen. No books for you. No multimedia, no props. Listen. And when you develop listening, it's clearly proved in multiple studies I have seen myself that compassion, empathy and listening are all inseparable. A person who can listen well can also have compassion in the heart. And a person who does not have much compassion or compassion deficit in the heart is because of listening deficit also. So if we can somehow bring ourselves to listen more, compassion flowers. And our system was beautifully designed in such a way that when I teach you Vedas, no books for you. Listen. Apart from the fact that phonetics are important, if I write it down, I am losing in translation. Na? Many of the places I go, in the countries, I go to a lot of temples. There they have translated some of the Hindi kirtans and Tamil kirtans in English. You see? And obviously over time, there is a little bit of spelling mistake. When I correct them, they are very upset. Saying, I have been doing this for the past 20 years, Arey, why are you correcting me? Then I realized the genius of our rishis. In 20 years, if I write it down, I lose phonetics out here. For at least say 10,000, 20,000, 25,000 years, the sound of Vedas have never changed. Why? Because they chose not to write it. If there are books right now, it is because of our state of memory right now. But there were no books even 200, 300 years back. People committed to memory. And the phonetics are best absorbed when you listen. Oral and oral is the best lossless transmission system, na? Superconduction. Na? That's why they actually brought this there. And that is how beautifully. So, if you take Bharatiya Samskriti, they are all very technologically very advanced, obviously. And they had no dearth for ideas and imagination. Yet they used it only for relevant areas. They understood the center of society is happiness for you and me. A sense of self-actualization for you and me. Technology, sciences, social sciences, how I do town planning, everything should augur and actually offer that which is the final goal, which is happiness for you and me. You see, that's the reason why many times some technology was available, they didn't use it for these things. You think they didn't know how to write? Of course they knew, but they didn't want to write because they wanted the children to listen, which I think is very important. And if you see, funny thing in the word listen, if you are a crossword enthusiast, there is something called anagram. Na? The listen ka jo anagram hai na, it is silent. S-A-L-E-N-T and L-I-S-T-E-N comes from the same 6 letters. Which means if you listen, you are silent. If you are not silent, you are not listening. You see. So that's the beauty of our Sanatana Dharma, Tattva and Leela, not Tattva or Leela. I'll give an example. There was a great Maharishi. Generally, you should use past tense, future tense for such Mahatmas. They are eternal. But for operational words, in Arunachala, by the name Raman Maharshi. Okay, he was the one who spearheaded a very simple way to understand Atma Swarupa, self-enquiry marga. He rejuvenated that which was there in our scriptures. In that, he very beautifully says, he was sitting in the hall. This is written by one of his Sishyas called Kunju Swami. Okay, this is what happened. There is a cat in the ashram, and the cat feels I am part of this ashram, and it is accepted because oneness in the apparent diversity. And the jnanis see that oneness. And then a mother squirrel gave birth to about 5 squirrels. I think it's 5. And the cat was waiting to pounce on the squirrels now. Now, as a jnani, he has samadrishti towards cat is also belonging here. and the squirrels also belong here, but I need to protect the squirrels. Why? Because the mother squirrel gave birth to the squirrels near our Bhagavan's sofa. So he thought that mother trusted me, I have to take care of the squirrels. Now these 5 little squirrels were all very mischievous, they wanted to jump out. He put it in a small cardboard box, kept it near him, and very patiently, each time when a squirrel tries to jump out of the box, he will pull the tail and pull it back in, you see. And he kept on doing this. And then his disciple came and stood by him. He said, look here, the squirrels do not know that there is a danger outside in form of a cat, which is a mortal danger for them. So they always want to get out of the box. But because I am here to take care of them, it is my responsibility to make sure they don't go out. I keep pulling them back to where they need to be. And it has been doing like that. I can't let the cat also go out, and I can't let the squirrels be affected by the cat. The Shishya apparently looked inside the box. I think there were 5 squirrels inside. Then he realized, is this not what the Guru is doing to a Shishya? The world is the cat. When you want to progress spiritually, obviously, they should have vairagya. You can't be going and all the sense organs are attached to the world. And a Guru, being inside, keeps on pulling one by one all our senses. He cannot do anything to the world because it is a creation which needs to run for vyavahara, for phenomenon. And Shishya cannot be actually forsaken. So a Guru, patiently, as Atma Swarupa, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, is pulling our senses one by one inside. Now this is the Tattva. But this also happened. You see, after 300 years, what will our youngsters say if they are not intelligent? I think the Tattva is Guru is Atma Swarupa and trying to pull our senses towards the source, which is abide in the source, which is Atma Swarupam. And this whole story has been made up to underline the Tattva, underline the principle. Is that what people will suspect? This is what happened to our Ramayana. Many of well-meaning Hindus and Sanatana Dharmis are finding it difficult to even accept the fact it happened. Are itihas hai. Why? Because of our logic. Pata nahi kahan se aaya aur. And is our bedrock of inclusiveness and connectedness and oneness. We should never get rid of that and, you see. And that is the reason why and is what culminates in Anand. You see. And if you see India, do you see this? I and I, we are all bound by an ant and a small pentagram there. So that is what India stands for, ant. You see, small I and the big I. Big I is Atma Swarupa, small I is the mind. And I and I are actually connected by our India, you see. And then we also have what is called as practicality and religion. In our Sanatana Dharma, it is so practical. If you go and read Mahabharata, our Swamiji showed us some episodes of Mahabharata which was so practical. And the same Mahabharata talks about Atma Swarupa, Bhagavad Gita, Sanat Sujatiya and all that. I'll give you an example which he showed us. He said, I think it will be helpful for you, for your growth in the ladder also. He said, if you want to truly be happy in your workplace and your boss needs to be really pleased with you, avoid this. Don't buy a better brand of shirt than your boss. Don't buy a car which is far more superior than the brand of your boss's brand. All that, who is saying? Daumya Rishi is saying to Yudhishthira, saying, now you are going to Virata Desa. You have always been a lord. Now you are going to be a servant there at least for 1 year. Remember this, if you want the king to be happy, king ka matlab hai boss. Even the small things you take care. And then you will have a very beautiful work life. Down to such mundane practicality Mahabharata talks, to the highest truth that we are all connected by that one consciousness. That's how practicality and faith, or practicality and highest philosophical truths go hand in hand, you see. And if you see the lives of Mahatmas, it is like that. Once Ramakrishna Paramahamsa had one of his Sishyas, and both of them were in the height of this devotional ecstasy. Uske baad he told his Sishya, go and get some sabji from the market, Calcutta mein. So he went, brought. When he brought back, Ramakrishna Paramsa is saying, जो curry leaves ना पत्ता, वो फूकड़ में देते हैं ना, वो क्यों नहीं लाया तू? Said, क्या है? We are now in this greatness of that oneness of consciousness. next moment practicality. He says this is Vyavahara. Be clear about phenomenal universe. Don't get confused between the Adhyatmika and Vyavahara. In Vyavahara, you have to take care of Vyavahara. In Adhyatmika, that is this concept of oneness. Try to use that oneness in the way in which we think, behave and believe, and in your belief system, so that we don't hurt anybody. That's the whole idea. And the beauty is, there is a story, and I think it is Yoga Vasishta. When Janaka Maharajana is a great jnani, once was shown what is equity or equanimity. Very beautifully they showed that somebody wanted to show the samatva. Samatvam yoga uchyate, says Bhagavan. What is the samatva of Janaka Maharaja? Once a person sent a proper sevak, a servant, a pig and a cow to the court of Janaka Maharaja. Please take care of them for 3 days. And what does samatvam mean? Janaka Maharaja didn't ask all the 3 to sit in his bedroom. Okay? He sent the servant to the servant quarters. He sent the cow to the cow shed. And he sent the pig to the pigsty. Samatvam. You see? That's how practical samatvam is, and our scriptures teach us. Don't get fooled. Don't be having illusions about samatva. Samatva means individually inside your heart you don't have any like or dislike, and you do what needs to be done. One of the great thinkers of Bharat, his name is Jiddu Krishnamurti ji. He beautifully says that what is this samatva? When you're walking down the road, you see a rock which can actually create accidents in the road. What do? A person saw the rock and said, I don't care, I'm not going to come back in the road, and keeps walking. He says he's not even human, forget him, you see. And another person comes, he sees a lot of people are looking at him, and he thought, if I don't take the rock and keep it in the side, people may mistake me, so I will take the rock and keep it on the side of the road. Normal human being. Another human being came and said, tomorrow if I come or somebody whom I love come that way, they may get hurt, so I am going to keep it in the corner of the road. What does a person with samatvam do? He won't see rock and road are samam, so let it be there. No. While walking, he would take a rock, keep it on the side without a choice. Quietly, choiceless awareness. And he'll keep walking. If a person asks, sir, why did you take the rock and put it on the side of the road? His answer would be, the rock does not belong to the road. Simple. You see, adhidan samatva. And this is how we are educated in philosophy, so that we don't, that's why policies done by our, ancient ministers and seers were all beautiful, because they were educated in the practicalization of this unity in diversity. They knew how to actually make it practical without, cutting corners. And then, of course, the spirit of our Sanatana Dharma is as many faiths, that many paths. In fact, Swami Vivekananda goes on to say, each of you make a new religion. Find your own way to God. Like a crow flies from point A to point B, you can't chart a road on the air. Na? So actually, spirituality, religion is actually a pathless land beyond a point. All these rituals, rites, etc. are beautiful to prepare us for that flight, you see. And the actual flight is very individual. Each of them find their own path after a point. And the whole preparation is the traditions. And when somebody becomes a jnani, no tradition can claim that jnani belongs to my tradition, because he has gone beyond all that, you see. And the only scripture, I think, personally, I'm not an expert, but I'd like to celebrate it. The scripture which says, even I don't apply to a person who is realized, must be Sanatana Dharma. Vedamata says, I'm telling you all this, but once you realize, even you don't have to regard me at all. You have done what needs to be done. It is like a primary school teacher ready to shake hands and say, you don't need me at all, now go. You see, enjoy your middle school. And that's how beautiful our scriptures are. Where it knows where to hold us, it knows where to leave us, so that we are not stuck somewhere, you see. And that is the inclusiveness, that is the oneness of our scriptures. And then I will now make it a little more practical. I have a few more minutes, I guess. I will make it a small little practical exercise for us to understand from Bhagavad Gita how that oneness in an apparent diverse emotions can be found. Our Bhagavad Gita keeps on saying, this is more personal, for something to take home. You see, we are all celebrated Bharat, and I feel really inspired when I came in, really inspired, because I know that this place is Bharat actually. The soil is Bharat. When I came back inside, I felt I'm back home after 3 months, you see. And it was a joyful experience. In Bhagavad Gita, very beautifully, Bhagavan says, Sama Dukkha Sukha Kshami. Look at pain and pleasure, sorrow and joy alike. No, he is asking us to find a unity or a oneness in a very obviously, personally, experientially opposite emotions. Generally, if you ask a Gen Z or a youngster like him, tell me what are the emotions you actually undergo, I get 3 wonderful poetic words. Sad, glad, mad. Ho gaya. Actually, at least there are 256 emotions, you see. And unless we understand it, it is generally, there is a nice adage in English. You name it to tame it, you see. We need to first understand what I am going through. And Bhagavan very beautifully says, don't disregard your needs. And Bhagavan says, I am that divine need in you. Dharma avirodha kamaha is Krishna, says Krishna in the 7th chapter. And that really boggled my mind. And Bhagavan says, don't disregard your needs. Don't think spirituality is, I don't care about my needs. Making a big mistake. Like William Black said, you're planting a poison seed now, you see. A poison tree will come. After 10 years, it will come out with all bitterness saying, I did so much for you, is this how you repay? Arey, we had no idea what was going on here. What 10 years kya hua tha? All my needs I sacrificed. I had no idea you had such needs, you see. And that doesn't work. Tyag is something else. Tyag is not disregarding our vital needs. That's not what Tyagam is. Tyagam is expanding our needs. You see what I'm saying? For example, if I am a soldier, I wish I were fit enough to be a soldier, guarding the borders of my beloved motherland. If I am an individual, if I think I am an individual, the first hear of a gunshot, I will run back home. But when I am standing there, you know what my need is? My need is one with the 1.4 billion people whom I stand for in the border. I am ready to show my chest to a bullet. Why? Because I didn't do tyag of the need by saying that my need doesn't matter. I have expanded my identity to include the need for Bharat as the need of mine when I am standing on the border. You see, that's how tyag works. Tyag does not work in denying my needs. Tyag works in maturing my needs to expand it to a bigger circle. And so here beautifully Bhagavan says, I am that need in you. Don't disregard it. Nourish it. Need is different. Desire is different. That's why he uses an adjective kama avirodha. Dharma avirodha kamaha. What does desire mean? I'll give you a small example which I saw. Why I'm telling you all this is to build up to a very important value. I think it will be useful for all of us to do our job for our motherland better. Here, there was this little girl, 7th grade in US, and she went on pestering her mother, I want an iPhone, you see. And the mother said, nothing doing. And they were arguing, you see. And then both of them came to a sort of an impasse, and they didn't know what to do. And I was there in the room, and I don't get involved in all this. You see, I abstain, which is an intelligent thing to do many times. And both of them came, I said, I can't solve the problem, I can help you. I asked the little girl, tell me, what do you need? iPhone. No, that's not what you need. That's what you want. What do you need? iPhone, think. She said, yeah, I need an iPhone because, good, now you're making progress. Why? Because I need to connect with my friends. Why can't you do it with a flip phone? They have iMessage. And the flip phone does not have an iMessage. And many times, though we gossip, gupshup and all that, we also talk about assignments in it. I looked at the mother, does it sound like a genuine need to you? She says, yes. What is your need? Arey, if I give the iPhone, what all happen, I'll know. She will download YouTube. She will download Instagram even though she is not legally ready for it. And some people would put less likes for her photo. Then I have to take care of her, sadness for 2 days. All that I don't want to sign up to. Now I looked at her and said, do you think her need is genuine? She says, yes. Now can you talk? She said, let's settle for one model less iPhone to save the cost. And then no YouTube, no Instagram, only iMessage with parental control. Both were happy, you see. And that's how relationships build, right? Many times we get stuck in wants, you see. And if we drill down, there is always room for everybody's need, not for everybody's greed in this world. So here, need. Once we understand that, that's the clue for us to understand the oneness in the diverse emotions we have. The beauty is, what I have realized over the various workshops I do for corporates, school kids, youth, etc. is, feelings and needs are connected. I hope you discovered that by now. If a need is met, I get a positive feeling, satisfaction, joy, happy, etc. If the need is not met, I get a negative feeling. Are you okay with me? And so, the example I read from one of this lovely literature is, it is like our fuel gauge in the car and the fuel tank. You are with me? So the tank needs to be full or reasonably full for me to have a long journey across wilderness, where I may not have a refilling done. So my fuel gauge makes me go through the journey. The whole journey is between E and F, see? Between two letters, consecutive letter, whole journey is over. E to empty hai, F to full hai. And between E and F, my whole journey has to happen. Now when I am driving, I suddenly find the pointer coming close to E, which is empty. And that is a metaphor for my feelings, indicating that there is a fuel tank called needs, which needs to be paid attention to. And if I am a very, emotional person, what I will do intelligently is keep patting that, don't give up on me right now, don't go to E, come on, you can do this. Will it help me? And actually what I need to do, I need to go to a nearby fuel station and fill my fuel tank. It has been put there for a purpose. If I am a positive thinker, what will I tell one of the advanced thinker? I will say, hey, next time you design a car, I am a positive person, I don't want E at all, I want only F. Sirf full hona chahiye. That's it. Show me when it's full, I don't care whether it's empty. Problem na. The whole purpose is lost na. It makes sense only when there is E and F, because E and F have been put for a purpose to fill the fuel tank. So Bhagavan is saying, you may have a spectrum of your feelings. In that we call it some positive, we call it some negative. Right from childhood we have been conditioned to do that. But both these feelings are like E and F of your fuel gauge. It merely indicates that we need to either reiterate a need so that it is never denied in future because it's in F and I feel happy, or stop everything, pay attention to the need. That's a very critical thing I need now. Should I not be grateful for an E? I think more than F, E is more important to me because that indicates I need to do something. I need both, okay. Like that, Bhagavan is saying, look here, sukha or dukkha, or feeling pleased or feeling displeased, irritated, everything, the whole spectrum is between E and F. It merely tells you the extent to which your fuel gauge or fuel tank is empty or full. Use that to work on this. And now the touch of one in the play of many is understanding every feeling I have, largely for a normal physiological person. There are some chemical imbalances that need to be treated with chemicals. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about normal physiology. Every feeling we undergo is vital for me because Krishna inside called a vital need is pointed to by that wonderful feeling. Do we not get a touch of one in the play of many now from Bhagavad Gita? This is how we can practicalize our wonderful dictum of there is unity in diversity, not uniformity. I'm not saying sorrow and joy are one and the same. Samatvam does not mean I see sorrow and joy as the same experience. Of course I see it as different. But I understand both are there together as a package for me to work on something else. So I see the touch of one in the play of many. When I am sad, I need to sense my sadness. I should not disregard it. And then I understand, why am I sad? What is the need which is not met? And then the life is interesting when I understand this is an important need now. For example, I don't want any of you to applaud. I'm just giving you an example. Suppose I thought I don't care about what people think about my lectures and leave. And one day when I talk, nobody applauded, for example. Seriously, it's hypothetical. Then I feel sad. That's telling me I do care. Though I think I don't care, my heart is saying, boss, you care. You see? You understand what I'm saying? So that's a compass. It's a beautiful compass. It's a compass we should be grateful for as a whole package. And wishing that I want to be only happy becomes a problem because as long as your needs are in, running low, Bhagavan has put a system to tell you, pay attention, dear. And do we not feel grateful for the negative ones also? So-called negative. I am grateful for the whole fuel gauge because it is helping me to chart my journey of life. You see? My journey of life towards fulfilling needs. If all needs are fulfilled, kya karu main? There is no spice in life, na? So we have spice route, na, which travels via Kochi, Mumbai and all that, ancient. Likewise, there is an inner spice route, which spices my life. And the emotions are the ones which spices my life to tell me there is a genuine need, focus on it. and your life will be enriched by the spices, you see. And that is the reason why this joy and sorrow, of course it's part of life. And so it's all possible, it's all there for a need, you see. And that is why, you see, that the underlying principle of unity in diversity is not a theoretical, hypothetical, utopian concept. We live that concept in our psychology, in our physiology. That's why during the start of any new year, whether it is Baisakhi, or whether it is Yugadi, or whether it is Tamil Varsha Parappu, or whether it is Bihu, you will find that traditional families will have a bitter dish, it will have a sweet dish, it will have a sour dish, it will also have a spicy dish, saying this is spice of life, get used to it, don't be picky, don't be choosy, embrace the whole thing, it's an and. I think we should certainly give that culture to our children, because what we eat, what we do in temples, what we do in our puja room needs to be read out as how we live. You see, that's why they are given this. When I was in one of the best production systems, they embraced a production system from Far East. They always start with an ideal station, okay? Instead of making sweeping changes, they'll say, this is an ideal station. Put all your technology there, put all your knowledge there, see how it works, and then expand from there. You see, it's called reading across, you see. That's how our rishis did. This is how you behave in puja room. See divinity in your puja room at least. And then see divinity in all the saintly people. Then see divinity everywhere. Don't judge at all. That's how we go step by step. And what I have realized in our Bhakti Sampradaya, because I come from that Bhakti Sampradaya blessed by my Guru, is the door to all is one. Let me explain in a small simple way. It's from Bhagavata Dharma, 11th canto of Bhagavata. I'm just making it more contemporary. When we start a shuttle match, how do you start? Service. Pehla karma yoga karo, seva karo. And do your karma yoga with seva buddhi, not with what do I get out of it buddhi. Then it becomes business. And when you serve properly, you start the score with love all. And then if you are a very horrible player, love one, you see. But bhakti goes the other way around. First you do seva. Look at everybody. Jani Janardani Aisa Bhava, says a Maratha saint. That look, Jana is Janardana for you. Serve like that. Your heart becomes pure, divinity will bless you. And then you start loving one aspect of divinity, whether it's Vitala, or whether it is Udupi Krishna, or whether it is Srinivasa Perumal, or whether it is our Kailashanath, or whatever it is. And then in that one, you will see all. For a mother to love all children, she needs to experience love of her child first, na? Then she sees her child in all children. It becomes easy for us to pour the love. Adopted or biological, doesn't matter. I'm just saying, the moment you have, it's my child. And then you pour the love to that one child, you see all children as my child, and that's how universal love can spread. That is the principle of Sanatana Dharma. You serve, you love one, and that one becomes all for you. Now you listen to Mirabai's Kirtan. Marato Giridhara Gopala Dusurona Koi means, for me, I poured all my love towards Giridhara Gopal. I realized the entire totality of creation is he. So when I see somebody, I see it as a part of my Giridhara Gopal. How can I hate that person? You see what I'm saying? And that is how it progresses. The unity progresses by embracing all through the window of one. And so it's not narrow-mindedness. If you say Shaiva Sampradaya, they say Shiva is my deity. And of course they respect everything, but they can pour their love only towards Shiva. And a Krishna Bhakta will say, I'll pour all my love towards Krishna. The end is not just loving just Krishna. End is loving Krishna as all. You see? Kahat Kabir Sarabhi Sahib, says our Kabir Das Ji Goswami. That totality is Sahib, which is Bhagavan. You see? That's the beauty of the Indian thought, or Bharatiya Sanskriti, where it embraces everybody. You see? And the simplest way to practicalize it is, remember, even though so much diverse emotions have a touch of one, which is everything is directed towards some need which is either met or not met. If it is met, feel grateful. If it is not met, put efforts. That's what spice of life is all about, isn't it? And at times it can be painful. Nobody denies it. Pain is part of life. In fact, I realized pain is a big blessing when I had to undergo excruciating pain. I used to play basketball in Delhi University, okay, to my college. And then, जो होता है ना shoulder, dislocate हो गया. You can't imagine the pain. Excruciating pain. Till I went to one of the nearby government hospitals. And though jante, frankly, they were not looking like doctors. You see, they took my hand. क्या हुआ? Oh, basketball खेला, dislocate. Hey, इस मुंडे को dislocate हो गया. चलो, thap, sudden burst of pain. Everything was fine. You see what pain was telling me? Stop your play. Even if you are like 55, 57, you are ready to put a 3-pointer, stop. Because this is important. If you continue playing with the dislocated shoulder, I cannot repair you at all. So pain is a prod to remind us there is something out of place. Put it back in its place. And then you can get back your strength and health. What is true for the body is true for the mind. The mind, when we are undergoing some severe, strong emotions, are indicating drop everything else. Sense your feelings, understand your feelings, and try to sense a need and work towards the need until the shoulder gets back to the place I am going to have the pain as a blessing to tell me don't continue other things, this is important to you. And hence, the touch of one in the many of the emotions is sense the need. And once you do that, you can also try doing it with others. Then that dream can be made true, which is one earth, one family, and one Bharat, you see, where I start empathizing. There's a lovely story in Bhagavatam, where Narada Maharshi was going around. Some two drunk, young, spoilt brats. His father was actually Kubera, so obviously pretty rich, and they were spoilt. Satsang nahi aaye the log. And they were drunk, not even properly dressed, fell on Narada Maharshi. Narada Maharshi thought, Arey, you are from such a great Shiva Bhakta, and why are you like this? And then he thought, you have never experienced pain in your life, so you are not able to appreciate others' pain. If somebody ever had an experience of a thorn pricking the feet, then they can understand. When somebody else is jumping with pain, they will understand, Arey, I understand your pain, I have been through. Gayal ki dard gayal jane aur na jane koi, maire mein to prem divani, meri dard na jane koi, says Meera Maiya. She says, until you go through this prema bhakti, you won't understand what I am doing. Yarkum ennor ariya unnadu, says Andal. Same Baba. So here, Narada Maharshi said, let them be blessed with an adverse circumstance so that they can become complete humans. You see? So at times adversity is a blessing as per our Bhagavatam. So even when we say prosperity and adversity, the apparent diversity in the experiences has a touch of one, which is both are making me a complete human. I embrace it as a package, you see. And then I become complete. And that is how, not just a theory, not just a hypothesis, it is how it is practicalized in every scripture of ours, every song of our great ones, that the unity in diversity is practicalized in almost all walks of life, from philosophy, from tattva vichar, from science and spirituality, to even managing my own emotions and becoming a happier me, you see. So that's what I thought I will share with you, that we all come from such a wonderful culture, Bharatiya Samskriti, which is teaching the world, it is teaching, it will teach. Whether the world acknowledges or not is up to their magnanimity, but the fact is we do teach, and we shall continue teaching. And the beauty with Sanatana Dharma is it's not ancient religion, it is ever new religion. Sanatan means Sanabhava Sanatanaha, eternal. We shall always be teachers, and our Swami Vivekananda says that every country has a theme, and India's theme is being the spiritual kitchen for the world. You may have fashion in Western Europe. You may have ideas of society in Eastern Europe. You may have this incredible wildlife in Africa. Or you can have this wonderful polity and systems of governance from Americas, you see. But all these things need food, na? Suppose a घर में a chap is engineer, a doctor है, a fashion designer है, a dancer है, singer है. अगर kitchen काम नहीं करता and Swiggy भी नहीं है तो what will happen to the medical profession or the engineering profession or fine arts? Food has to come from the kitchen. Whether the kitchen is recognized or not, it has to function well for the whole household to be happy, isn't it? Likewise, whether other countries accept or not, unless Bharat has its spiritual, religious roots of Sanatana Dharma in place, world will not be a better place to live in, and it shall be, because that is the theme of Bharat, and it shall continue to exude positive divine vibrations to the whole world, come what may. Because just like how jnanis know only to show compassion to people, Bharat knows only to teach, and none of our Upanishads are copyrighted. अगर एक शब्द बोल दिया तो R लिखते हैं, C लिखते हैं. How many R's and C's we have to circle in our Upanishads? You see, we don't do. Why? We give knowledge freely. That's a knowledge for the humankind. We don't think this is Bharatiya knowledge. We think it's a humankind's knowledge, and everybody needs to be benefited. That is the real spirit of our Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. And let us pray that our Bharata Mata, best of her health and spirits, continue to exude divinity, joy, compassion to the rest of the world, and truly let Bharata Mata be the Vishwaguru. Jai Hind.